zero dependence on Russia. So those were the first few points I made, and I also said that so far public opinion has been with us, and that is why it is ultra important that we remain resolute, also when so-called CNN effect takes place. We cannot become complacent or give in to Russian propaganda. I spent some time also talking about EU candidate status for Ukraine. Also in preparation for the next few weeks, while the Commission prepares its avis before the next European Council. Question I asked on behalf of the Parliament is the choice we face is this. Do we want Ukraine to look to Europe, or do we want Ukraine and the rest of the world to doubt Europe's capacity to make the important decisions when we are asked to and when we have to lead? In my view, we have no choice but to bring Ukraine even more close to us, and the worst signal we could give at this point in time would be to show hesitation. What Ukraine needs right now is hope and perspective, and the European Parliament would be a partner to the other institutions, as we have affirmed time and time again, not only in our resolutions, but also in the votes that have taken place from a financial perspective, in order to make sure that the right assistance is given to Ukraine, both within Ukraine and also with regards to those countries helping Ukraine with the humanitarian challenges that they face. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you very much. Questions from your side, please. Who would like to take the floor first? Yes, please.
I'm Agnes Such. Should I do something?
No.
No? Okay. I'm Agnes Such from Anadolu Agency, and I have a question on Ukraine's membership perspective. After having talks with the leaders, how do you see this process, and how the European Parliament can enhance their application? Thank you.
So I made it clear also, because when we see the wording of the Council conclusions draft that went through Coreper today, you have a commitment that this is going to be dealt with in the next European Council, and I wanted to make sure that there is zero ambiguity about the European Parliament's position, that it positively views the next step for Ukraine to become a candidate country of the European Union. This would allow not only for the political message to be sent, but also for the next steps that would further integrate Ukraine and Ukrainians, and the possibility for them to access different programs while we look at the rebuilding of Ukraine. So that's the political position that is strong, that stays, and that I have no doubt will continue to have the strongest of support from the European Parliament. And this is precisely what I answered to quite a number of leaders when we discussed the sort of new idea of parliamentary diplomacy, that what we are talking about now, after President Zelensky addressed the European Parliament and after my invitation for 160 parliaments around the world to discuss with the national parliaments on how different parliaments, different countries can help Ukraine. This means that while we have at the same time a classic war that is being fought with the invasion of Russia into Ukraine, at the same time you have parliaments that are pushing the leaders and the heads of state and government to take the decisions that they have taken with unprecedented unity, if I may say so. So we very much look forward to the adoption of the sixth package of sanctions. Would we have liked it to go further? Of course. Do we still want it to go further? Of course. And we will continue to make this point, even while we see not only the indirect but also the direct implications of what Russia is doing, especially with the food shortage and the problems of supply routes, for example, to African countries of the fertilizer, but also the grains and cereals that they so desperately need.
Question suivante. Next question. Yes, please.
Yes, hello. Here's Giovanni De Re for the Italian newspaper Avvenire. Given the impasse we are experiencing in these hours, Prime Minister Orban said we are far away from an agreement. Do you agree with some German members of the government that we risk to see the unity of Europe to unravel? Thank you.
Sanctions packages are never easy to adopt, especially when we are in the fourth month of a war where one country, one autocratic regime has invaded another and broken all the rules. And on this, it is clear that it has been clear from the very beginning that different countries have different realities. Their dependence on Russia differs from a geographical perspective, historical perspective, political perspective. But I think we all, or at least most of all, Putin underestimated the unity with which the European Union can act. I think we can look back at the last 2 years, both during the pandemic but in a post-pandemic scenario where governments have themselves, let's say, contributed to more Europe rather than less. So I continue to be optimistic. We say politics is the art of the possible. And I would definitely not give Putin even 1 second of thinking that the fragility that is being reported would go away from the unity that we have found. The atmosphere in the room is very good. And let's just say I hope that what has been a very difficult few weeks will reach an agreement that can be one that is effective, that has beef, that has teeth, and that we can go to the next step. But one thing is clear, that this war is not going to end anytime soon, and we need to be resolute in our responses, in our unity, and in the way we do politics, because we are democracies, and work with that.
Lorenzo.
Consoli from Asca News, Italy. I would like to ask two questions. One concerns the fact that in the conclusions, apparently for the moment there's not the word ceasefire. Don't you think, like Italy and other countries think, that there should be at least a demand for having a ceasefire, trying to have a ceasefire? Or we think it's too unrealistic in this moment? And the second question concerns the price cap on energy, electric energy, the gas, etc. That's also a demand from Italy. And there is quite a rigid position from many countries, in particular northern countries, Germany, Netherlands. Do you think, and I don't know if in the Parliament this has been discussed, but it is a quite important issue for also the social consequences of high energy prices. Is there a position from the Parliament, or has the Parliament the plan to have a position on this? Because this is something that should be discussed quite deeply. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. On the word ceasefire, this is first of all I would say it's the meaning of the word, right? And what do we mean by ceasefire? If it means that we declare peace at the cost of Ukraine and its territory, then I don't think that's going to be something that we, as European Union, should accept. This is not, when we're talking about peace without liberty and justice, then it's not peace at any cost. And for us, first of all for the European Parliament, but also the discussion very much circulated around this today, is that we need to make sure that Ukraine is, let's say, at that table, and not anyone else who decides that the war is over, or that Russia or otherwise has to save face. I said this last week. I think we should not risk talking about appeasement or saving face. I think it's about making sure that when there is a country that is invaded in our continent, then that country is helped, should have been helped earlier, quicker, in order to defend the very values that we all share in the European Union. On the price cap, again, this is, different, let's say, viewpoints. Last week, this was very much discussed between the leaders and also in Davos. When we are going to talk about, let's say, common purchasing power, right? Where are we going to pool in our resources? Are we going to use unspent funds? Are we going to find new funds? Are we going to move funds away from what we would have spent, for example, on our ODA as member states? That is a question that is being asked not only in the European Parliament. Yes, in answer to your question, it is being discussed in the different committees, but also in the national parliaments. Because while at the same time we are taking very difficult decisions that have a cost, can that cost and how will that cost be cushioned from being shouldered by the citizens and the consumers? And the consumers are asking us, rightly so, where is this going to end? But make no mistake, this is our job as the European Union, as leaders, but also as different economies, in order to make sure that the flexibility, and here we welcome the decision that was taken to extend the exception clause until the end of 2023, but at the same time we need to balance that with making sure we don't have debts that for many generations to come they will have to pay. So it's a very delicate balance. The European Parliament is very much working intensively on the Fit for 55 package, because even there can be savings made that could be used in order for us to uncouple our dependence from Russia, in order for us to not to be blackmailed. So the next few weeks and months are going to be very difficult, but let's not allow ourselves to be at the mercy of any division that Putin will seek to take advantage of. And that is where these next few hours and days are crucial, in the language we use, but also the solutions that we find.
There are still two questions. First, please, the lady, yes.
My name is Anna Bandensky. I'm from Europe Diplomatic. I have a question on Prime Minister Draghi peace plan, how you would assess it. Don't you think it's a good basis to build on? I mean, peace plan for Ukraine, of course.
Yeah, I think if we see what different leaders have said and how, I mean, we have seen wonderful efforts, both on a bilateral level but also on a local level, especially, I must say, between Italian mayors and the different towns in Ukraine that have been twinned for years in terms of rebuilding of Ukraine, and also in making sure that the next step, once Ukraine is more integrated with the EU, how can those projects that we have be available to Ukrainians, both inside Ukraine and outside? When we're at the moment, what we're looking for on behalf of the European Parliament is making sure, first of all, that we are coordinated in what we say and what we do. And of course, we want the war to stop as soon as possible. And that means that all efforts should be made, but as I said before, not without Ukraine at the table.
And the last question, Christian, please.
Oui, bonjour. En français, c'est possible?
Ça va bien.
J'ai deux questions. Je voudrais revenir sur votre optimisme et cette atmosphère excellente que vous avez trouvée en salle de réunion du Conseil. Quand ils sont arrivés, les dirigeants attendaient tous une voix, celle de M. Orban, et son avis sur la proposition qui a été faite. Et il a dit sèchement, ça va pas, c'est pas bon, et il voulait des garanties. Alors comment est-ce qu'on peut concilier une atmosphère excellente avec un dirigeant qui est en train de bloquer complètement parce que la Commission a été incapable de lui donner les garanties qu'il voulait? Ça, c'est ma première question. La deuxième question, vous parlez de l'adhésion de l'Ukraine, processus d'adhésion de l'Ukraine. qu'est-ce que vous pensez des propositions qui sont sur la table? Et on parle d'une communauté européenne politique, une communauté géopolitique européenne. En fait, grosso modo, on parle d'une antichambre dans laquelle on mettra les candidats potentiels, ceux qui n'ont pas voulu rester dans l'UE, un peu tout le monde, et puis au petit bonheur la chance, dans un jour, dans un an, dans 10 ans, on les fait rentrer. Est-ce que c'est une bonne solution, l'attentisme? Merci.
Thank you very much. On your first question and the guarantees, that's why I said, and I wanted to emphasize the good atmosphere that there was in the room between the leaders, because there are many countries that asked for their specificities to be recognized and understood, and also allowed to be incorporated in the text of the conclusions without, let's say, them being blocked and with the wrong message being sent to Ukraine. And I think there we can find consensus on. There are limits, yes, to flexibility, and there are also, let's say, the European Parliament will not accept that political or individual, let's say, obstacles are made when there are no, simply in order to break up that unity. So I continue with caution to believe that we can find, with text that is balanced, that can cover all the member states, the possibility for the sanctions package to be adopted. That is not something that I got when leaving that room. That would not be possible. On your second question, we can use a lot of titles, etc. But, I went to Kiev on the 1st of April and I addressed the Verkhovna Rada and I met with President Zelensky. And the discussion that we had is, what does Europe want to do? Is Europe going to open the door for countries that are fighting for the very essence of what it stands for? We are fighting Europe's war. Are you ready to open your door to us? And I think since then, our, let's say, duty has been not only to use political rhetoric, but to actually say, yes, we are ready to open that door. What do we mean by opening that door? That when Ukraine replies with lightning speed to the questionnaire from the Commission, then we reply with efficiency back. And that is what we have on the table, and we have been reassured as a Parliament that that will happen, and that's why we very much look forward to the next European Council. When we talk about different programmes, I said today during the summit that a lot of us around the table were campaigning for our countries to join the European Union. It took a long time, many obstacles, many things to achieve, etc. But at the end of the day, we had one goal in order to be around the table because we shared the same values and principles. 97% of Ukrainians say that they want to join the European Union, and we have to respond to that. And at the same time, we need to make sure that if there are countries that have asked, and I specifically also referred to Albania and North Macedonia inside the room, that we do not look away, just like we cannot look away from Georgia and Moldova. Of course, every country has its own path. It will be different processes, but it would be a monumental failure for us as a union that is not only about, let's say, economics or rhetoric, but it is also about democracy and can be a global leader for democracy and security. Now, that is a position I hold not because I am President of the European Parliament, but as a committed European and as I want the European Union to be and to be perceived in the world. I think now is our moment, and we would be failing if we didn't do that.
Thank you very much.